Hey, Derek Franz here. Wanted to give you a little tour of Redding, California. Let you see some of the stuff I've been working on. So, 3D pen, newest stuff with the 3D pen. I'm drawing my own designs and then rapid prototyping them, bringing them to life just to show you the flow. Like, here's a original drawing, and then here is the guy made out of 3D pen, hollow and foam sheathed, and some details are added. A lot of times I'll just kind of put the detail in low relief and then puff it out with the foam final. The foam's kind of nice. It feels like a leather. It shrinks a little bit sometimes if it's like crossing a gap like in welding, and it shrinks, then it like pops, and then you can see a circle where there wasn't enough mesh of the 3D pen to hold on to the foam. So each one of these started as a doodle drawing. They're nice and lightweight. They're kind of strong, in this state of impact collision. You could crack them very easily. They make crackle noises very easily, but they're very lightweight. It's hard to 3D scan that interior space. It doesn't exist. So, shadows don't exist. I'm inspired by, phantasms, tribal stuff, and I'm also inspired by, like mutant forms, like asymmetry. So this guy, you can see his arm is connected to his head, and that's kind of interesting. Gives him a hunch. You wouldn't even know his arm is connected to his head there. A lot of times it has to do with the conversion of a flat original drawing into 3D, and that translation is kind of my specialty art. This one is very hard to 3D print because he's all loose. He needs really good supports, but boy does he like to walk around. And I'm also inspired by making it so you don't know where the face is or what's looking back at you. And doodles, geometry, just new ways of thinking about how limbs are connected to conscious beings. The eye, the head, the arm, the leg, the mouth. Those things are in the spike, in the horn. Those things are always here. Very simple guy. And I'm going for, unique sculptural biomorphic postures. The muse is the technology sometimes, and so rapid prototyping these, bring him back into the world as a 3D pen. As a 3D print, it's a little liberating because you're not limited to like a 2-part mold or like a sort of like the equivalent of a linear function where you can't do like crazy undercuts. Like in theory, you could do any possibility of kind of like a voxel grid space with a 3D printer. Some, a shape on, a shape off. So sometimes it's in a direct experiment with what is physically possible. A lot of times, this drawing is from the front, and so you'd think that the parting line, there's a parting line in it, you can see, and then this one arm is breaking the parting line. So sometimes I kind of strive to make it so that there is no parting line, like this object could not be reproduced effectually. It's kind of fun. That's a possible muse. This guy's, he's got those bulging eyes. but the teeth, I do this thing with the teeth where there's a combination of the spike and the round, and then there's always some kind of mutation, some variation. Here we got the mouth hands. This guy's another play with where's the face. You know, he could be that tongue, that mouth, that eye, or he could be this face, which is barely, you know, this wasn't even an intentional face. It's more like, do you choose to encounter him or do you choose to encounter him? They're very hollow, very light, you know. And then this one's still wet a little bit. His eyes are half there, single horn, and has got very gnarly hands. So I'm inventing how to unfold and move through 3D space a little bit more. This one reminds me of a lot of my early drawings that use the kind of like the quatrefoil weave. And then this guy's reminds me of you know, early fantasies of glee, jubilance, you know, impossible joy, you know, characters that are just slam dancing and you know, emancipated cartoons. And here's an early one. I showed you without talking about it. The first one, this one, was actually a sun sign that a student drew, and I saw this repeating eye face. And you know, I kept drawing this for a day at work until I found this character, you know, the sun sign man. So this was the first one of this series of original works. You know, sometimes the kids at school come up with a character. That was just a sun he drew. He didn't even know that it was a being. I saw that into it. I read into it. And then this guy, just a random. This is also a student work too, like inspired by kind of like a rainbow thief Santa. I probably have the original drawing somewhere still, or obviously a picture on the computer. So this one is credited to a student, you know, just a little kindergartner versus kindergarten to 5th grade. This one I was pretty proud of, you know, just working big. I drew it on 2 pieces of paper, so like 2 8x11 pieces of paper worked together to make a monster. Like volumetrically, this guy's a beast. This one had to be shrunk to be printed. And this was one of the first ones that I just hand drew, you know, so like these 3, obviously the brown foams, the color foams were the first ones to emanate. That one's a mix of paint. And all of these 3D scanned okay, no issues. And then just to return to the one that I did today, he's still wet, very wet. He was just an hour or 2 transferring a sketch into the character. So he's got, first one I've done with a tongue, maybe a little more intentional of a tongue, a dragging 3D tongue. He's got a foot emanating from his shoulder. He's got a regular hand. He's got a nose. He's got a moon antenna. And this is like the claw hand. So it's like dancing hand and evil hand. And that's coming out of his abdomen, you can see. So he's you know, asymmetrical. Us humans are kind of 4s. So that's the stuff in the tub. Lightweight stuff. And then here's 2 others that just faces that I drew that didn't materialize yet as whole characters, but you can see the mesh form. Doink, doink, doink. This one's pretty solid. You have to get it up to solid to sheathe them, in my opinion. So that's what I've been doing for the last month or 2. Over here is the precursor. This is kind of like my training space. These are all of the Gus Fink's. I would just look at Gus Fink art and make copies of them in 3D, because he made all these doodle characters, and they're, you know, inspiring little buddies. So I've been doing this for, you know, about a year with the 3D pen, you know, as a ritual practice. I was originally doing you know, I messed around with what I could do for sheathing. So this one is plaster of Paris and paint and wax. And then this one is paper. Paper is pretty interesting. You know, if you had to spend zero money, you could get away with paper. It's just you need a couple days, a couple new layers, you know, like sag the front and cut them down to size, sag the back, you know. You could do it in a couple days. Some of them don't, you know, they seem like solid. Like this one doesn't have much, you know, you don't have to add much to it. It's just already a solid. And some of them are flat, you know, not very dimensionally challenging. Here's just the Gus Fink space. Most everything here is a Gus Fink, even though I made them all. He's a very prolific drawist. All these little characters are his ideas. This one is by my son Clyde. So when I didn't have a place to live, I would sheathe them in plaster because I needed something that could protect it from thermal breakdown. Because if you're in a car, you're in the elements, you know, these things just disintegrate quick if you don't sheathe them. This one's an original design. I was just playing with the Boogly Bunnies. It's a reference to the Boogly Bunnies. This one's a reference to the Ghoulie. But they were more very, very early original designs I did with the 3D pen at home last year. All of these buddies need to be documented. Some of them, you know, I never sheathed them. Didn't have time to sheathe them all. I'd make them. I wanted to kind of make them faster than that I could process them. That's just how I work. This guy's cool, you know, very delicate, you know. He missed something fell out or something. He's damaged, but he easily repaired if he doesn't get any worse. There's stuff everywhere. There might be over 100 of these. Very beautiful. I understand how beautiful these originals are. It's just you have to kind of sacrifice it to a sheath to go to the next step, which is 3D scanning. So it's hard, you know. You'd want to document everything. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous when you shine a light through these, and sometimes you can see like an X-ray of them on the wall, and you rotate it. So like each one, to do it justice, to do like montage, narrative process art justice, you know, every single one of these. Say it takes 2 hours to make one, and then you'd have to do like a, you know, like an hour, you know, like half-hour video to kind of shadow document how they engage with the, you know, light sources. And then you need to do a 3D scan. This one's playing with some kinetic art. Paper bag. So more than I could show you over here. This one's very heavy. It had a lot of kind of like refinement. I wanted to get this one perfect for the 3D scan, so unbelievably heavy. Lots of modeling clay just to fix up what, you can use modeling clay to make it exactly what you want just by over sheathing it. So they're heavier. I don't know if they're more expensive, probably. Price of modeling clay. The weight of modeling clay. The air clay I buy these days is $10 a pound. So these are all 3D prints of see, this is a 3D sculpture, handmade 3D sculpture coated in wax. So not this one, but not this one, but everyone else here is Gus Fink, not the Griffin. Rag Cry and unnamed silver dollar or silver ounce, and one of his beasties, and one of his skull gnomes, another one of his skull gnomes. That's Bunny Boyd's dad. That's Momo. There's Quali. This is like the Rainbow Zone. Here's Skygort. And then this one's unnamed. This is just from one of his funny portraitures, monster portraitures. He might have named him. Here's the body for one of the portraitures of the phony. He's on the phone talking to somebody that says, like, kill all the phonies. So it's Skull Gnome. Kind of a Skull Gnome. This was one of the blood monies. Here's Kitex in ohm bead form. Here's a nice Skull Gnome here. This is one of his dragon boys. Missing his head. But I made this one. Very proud of this one. There's a couple of those. There's even 2 versions of him. This was ceramic sculpture I did originally, and then I did the ceramic sculpture again. And you can see this is more me, and this is trying to be true to him. Here's this might have been Emmy Boys. It's a circle dragon. Here's one of the beasties, and here's another one of those dragon boys. You can see Gus has returned to this character, the consumption and the face. Here's one of the blood monies. This one's an interesting gnome, just from his book about life or big life or something. Here's one of the beasties. This one's a combine of 2 Gus Fink components, handmade hands. That's a skull bow, and this is like the stitch eyes from one of his novel covers from the UK. And then this is a Tokidoki sideways crew cut. You can see over here, this is the Tokidoki that was destroyed to bring that crew cut into space. This might have been a blood money. Here's some good blood monies. Here's one of his Baphomets. This one's good. You can see it kept true to the boogly form. This one I call the Matador. Interesting character of his. Here's a Ghoulie. And this guy is funny. I really like him. He's one of the more interesting characters. He's like a space astronaut cat, undead astronaut misfit cat. And I know there's some in here that we haven't shown you yet. Maybe not. I'm looking for the green ones. Wonder where they went. But we'll find them later. Here's a body for a bear. That's the socket for the spring. Here's a... So this one was originally it was a ceramic, and then I took a plaster mold of the ceramic, and then I made a rubber version of the dude, added some modeling clay to him, and so this guy is very generationally linked, you know. He's someone else's design that I did a sculpture improvisation of, in clay to rubber to digital to plastic. He's very lightweight. The fill on most of them is this honeycomb at 1.75%. This guy has a gyroid in him. You can't see it, but it's like the lightest fill possible. It's just a single curving line. Yeah, so that's all that's here. You know, I could look for things for days. They'll show up. And then I wanted to show you the 3D printing room. These 3D printers, you can get them for $100 each, refurbished. So what's going on here is you got 6 printers going at the same time. This is original work. You might remember this guy, the 2 hands and the swirl legs. And then this is the other original work, the man holding his hands out. And then this is that one with the crazy legs. So they're all building up. And then over here we got some of the repeats. Like I like to get them out. Lately, I take the 3D prints and I embellish them with more 3D print work. And then this is the area that has ones that are incomplete. You know, the $100 3D printer misses stuff, and then the G-code files aren't perfect. Like these are first generation G-code files. Usually, you find out what issue. There just happened to be an issue with this foot, so obviously, if I wanted to, you know, go back and just make sure that foot's got more supports. And then this one's just an issue. This PLA I got from MakerBot is very shiny, which is kind of appealing. Like, look at that. But there was just this issue where it lost registration. I think I did the infill grid so thick that it just had too much to do, so that it had a chance for errors. Here's some body parts. As I said, some of them are difficult to print. You know, I try 1 or 2 times, and you just have to go back to the drawing board and re-G-code it, re-support it. This one's cool. I got a couple different copies of it, but I had to remake the foot because that one foot couldn't survive. So now you know. And oh yeah, in the garage there's one more collection that I took to school. I was trying to pawn them off on kids. Oh yeah, and there's these two. There's always more. These are like the first wave of 3D prints from my own original works. You know, you can change the filament color halfway. This one came out fairly flawlessly. This one had the same foot problem. And then this guy, he's perfect, lucky. You know, every once in a while you get everything right, the right printer, right file. So I took these to school. This is another one of mine. You see it needed the ear fixed up. This guy's cool. This is just pastels, oil pastels. Here's a Skygore variant from one of Gus's books. That one's my design. That one's my design. That's Gus Fink. That's my design. And here's the one I wanted to show you. This is a very good character by Gus Fink. I call him the Subway Farer. Gus, he paid me a couple $100 to put together a line of toys for him, but it never worked out. This is kind of cool, brutalist painting of the character. You know, just a little study. Here's what you can do if you print it twice and fuse them together, mesh them together. Sometimes when they break, it's a good chance to recreate the character. So here's the full version of this Gus Fink one. The string doll. I like this Gus Fink character. I've done it a couple different times. It's like the boy, very consumed by the death bear. Teddy death. This one had issues with the final layer, the head. This one was made out of tilt. Sometimes the ones I made out of tilt, like they get wobbly at the top and they break down. This is a scrap bear from Gus. And then this one's got print in place action. I used Blender to add a shape, or to negate a shape from the center. So the arms had trouble printing on that one. Here's the heads for the phonies. The, you know, kill the phonies guy. It was printed like that, so you can see that was where the issue was. Like it broke there. This isn't Gus Fink or me. It was just two toys that I bashed together. A Mega Man body and Kid Robot. Maybe a Kid Robot Muñeca doll, like Russian nesting doll characters. Here's a good sculpture that I did in clay. Single piece into 3D print. That's a Gus Fink. Here's a combo, so like Skullbow's head plus Subway Farer's body. That's Skullbow copyrighted, but Gus doesn't always name his stuff. You know, if he doesn't have a name for it, He hasn't copyrighted the name yet. This is it's like a radio cat zombie astronaut. And then here's that guy again. This one had a damaged head, which I replaced with just 3D pen and foam. The foam's such a cuddly thing. I've just gone through these. These are all printed at maximum capacity on the 220 by 220 by 250 millimeter Ender 3 Neos that I have. I run most of them off of the Neos came with a 4.22 circuit board, which somehow still had noise canceling stepper motors. Here's a Tim Biscup that never got fired. And then these are Gus Fink studies, like a zombie cat. Sorry you lost your head there. Skull of a dead bunny. This one's very beautiful. This one Gus didn't even take credit for. I just started with one of his cartoons and made that, and he didn't know that it was his anymore, so that was kind of funny. Over here, there's some buddies piled up. That's a toucan's body. Can't see too well, but over here there's the original clay scary cat. There's a funny multi-horned character there. There's the original body of the clay. There's the original head of the bear clay. Over there's a nice body of a skull gnome. So those clays, there's two more clays up there, the toucan. There might be some more clays over there. There's I gotta fire these, but hopefully I can get my kiln running. I'll have a bunch of time to try a bunch of experiments. So there's the original of that scary face, the original beastie. 3D scan. I don't know. It's hard to 3D scan ones that don't have a flat base. So sometimes they just get stuck here for too long. I'll definitely 3D scan them before I move. Here's a first generation caterfly. His parts are here. And he's got two wings over there. He's still cracking. He's got all of his parts. If you lose the parts, then you have to just keep on embellishing. So here's a funny giant cocoon body and a toucan head. And then this one I'm kind of mixed feelings about because it fell apart just enough where it's like, dang, where's the eyeball gone? So that's about it for Reading 2024 sculpture as of it's pretty much what I did entirely for 2023. But now I don't make Gus Finks anymore. I'm on my own.